We're the Wild Center, this is Lunchtime Live. We're talking about nature and exciting wildlife. Encounters with otters and owls too, from Tupper Lake right to you. Learn about the plants and trees, there's so much to explore and see. Lunchtime Live, it's time to start the show. From the Wild Center, here we go.
Hello, welcome to another Monday edition of Lunchtime Live. Today is Monday, October 19th. I'm Nick, your typical Monday host of Lunchtime Live, here to take you on a trip around the museum, see what's happening this week, and some other fun stuff from the Wild Center. Before we get to all of that, let's dive into what's happening at the Wild Center this week. As a reminder, the Wild Center is now only open Friday through Sunday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Reservations are still required. You can make those at wildcenter.org/visit. We'll drop the link right here so you can see that. Guests that visit the Wild Center, as always, can expect to see live animals throughout the day, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. in our outdoor classroom. It's everything from Stickley, the porcupine, to Cora the common raven, and everything in between. We're also doing creature features twice a day, 10:30 and 1:30 p.m. Your opportunity to get up close and personal with an animal ambassador that calls the Wild Center home. Chat with one of our naturalists. Also happening this week, we are very excited to continue our virtual series on Thursdays. This Thursday, October 22nd, we are featuring conservation through the lives of Adirondack loons with Dr. Nina Schoch. Dr. Schoch runs the Adirondack Center for Loon Conservation, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting and inspiring passion for the conservation of common loons. In this session on Thursday, which will be held on Zoom, Dr. Nina Schoch will encompass scientific research, educational outreach, and conservation and management to help protect and support healthy populations of common loons, not only in the Adirondacks in New York State, but throughout North America. As a reminder, this is a live Zoom event. It starts at 6:30 p.m. on Thursday. There will be a Q&A with Dr. Schoch to follow. And that is free for Wild Center members and $15 for non-members. So again, just a plug for Wild Center membership. Not only do you get a full year of free visits to the Wild Center, but also really great perks like free participation in these sorts of virtual events. If you're interested in a Wild Center membership, we'll drop that link right here, wildcenter.org/membership. All right, also happening this week, this Saturday, October 24th, we are in spooky season, so we will be debuting the Wild Center's Halloween drive-in. This Saturday, October 24th, we're starting out with a family-friendly movie. We're showing Casper, the 1995 movie. So we are reimagining Halloween. We're bringing you almost an immersive experience in your car. So be sure to get more information at wildcenter.org/haunted drive-in. As a reminder, you do need reservations before coming to the drive-in. We do have limited capacity, and we do expect this event to sell out. So if you are interested, be sure to get those reservations beforehand. As a reminder, per New York State regulations, masks and physical distancing are required at all times. We're encouraging you to bring food and drink from home, or stop by our friends at the Tupper Lake State Theater on Park Street in Tupper Lake before the movie to buy your popcorn. You can get more information about popcorn and the State Theater at tupperlakemovies.com. So as a reminder, this Saturday, October 24th, come check out Casper. We are starting parking at around 6 p.m. Movie starts around 7. More information, wildcenter.org/haunted drive-in. All right, moving ahead, let's take a look at what's happening with the Wild Center's Youth Climate Program in their ongoing series called Youth Have Power. Tomorrow, October 20th, they continue their speaker series, this time spotlighting climate science. Again, these speaker series were joined by top innovators and change makers from around the country to talk climate change solutions, environmental justice, and climate science. Tomorrow, we're excited to be joined by renowned climate scientist Dr. Leslie Ann Dupigny-Giroux, who's the Vermont State climatologist. Chat with her to get your questions answered on the nuts and bolts of climate change. And if that's not enough, we're also joined by Liza Goldberg, who's a student research assistant at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center. Chat with Liza on how youth can be climate scientists at any age. We're confident that you'll leave with all the facts and inspiration you need to start working on solutions on climate change. So again, get all of that information at the link here, wildcenter.org/youth-have-power. All right, before we move ahead, let's take a quick commercial break.
Some popcorn shot?
Thank you, I'm gonna eat it now.
Hi, welcome to the drive-in.
Hi, thanks.
You have reservations for tonight?
Yeah.
Great, thanks. Enjoy the movie. Listen, just so you know, we've been hearing some weird noises out of the woods. We think it's just an animal, so nothing to be afraid of.
Oh, great, thanks.
Okay. Glad we decided to come here.
Oh man, I haven't seen it yet, so I'm really excited to see what's gonna happen.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna go to the bathroom before it starts.
Oh, I'll go with you. Don't forget your mask.
It's a little spooky. Why does it smell like that here? It's a little spooky. Yeah, right. Yeah.
All right, welcome back to Lunchtime Live. Today we are featuring the storytelling of Dave Fadden of the Six Nations Indian Museum in Ontario, New York. Today he joins us to tell a traditional Mohawk story on how birds got their individual songs. Let's take a look.
This is a Mohawk story that my grandfather told me many years ago, and he's been telling this story at our museum for many, many years. And the story begins long ago where Sungwayandis, or who we call our creator, he came down to the earth to see how his creation was. He wanted to see if the trees were still growing, the plants, see if the animals were happy, and the people. And he wandered through the territory for a good day. All day he looked, and everything seemed pretty good. The trees were growing, the plants were growing, they were healthy. The animals were good, they were happy and content, and the people were. But as he traveled across the country, he noticed that something was missing or seemed out of place. And so he wandered all day looking for this thing that he couldn't find, till the sun it started to set. Then Sungwayandis noticed an old man. He came wandering out of his lodge, and he was carrying a water drum. And he came to the edge of the woods, and he started to play the drum, and he started to sing a song. And the Creator listened to the words he was saying. And what that old man was saying in his song was a song of thanksgiving to such a beautiful day. He was thankful for the things around him. And he was saying goodbye to the sun, and he was greeting the moon and the stars. And as that old man was singing, the Creator, he felt pleased that he could see that the humans had a great appreciation for their lives in the earth. And as that old man sang, he noticed in the trees above the lodge near that old man were all these birds. And the Creator realized those birds, they didn't know how to sing in that ancient day. They were the only ones that didn't have a song. Everything else had a way of singing. Even the trees, when the wind blows, they make their own song. The animals, they have their own songs. And the humans, even the rivers and the streams, when the water goes over the rocks, it almost sounds like a drum. But those birds, they had no songs in that day. And so that next day, the Creator, with his powerful mind, he called to the four directions for a council of all the birds of the world. And from the four directions, they gathered around the Creator. They gathered on the trees, and they say there were so many birds that the trees leaned over from all that weight. And when they had all gathered, the Creator sat down on a rock, and he spoke to them. He said, I've noticed you birds listening to that old man sing yesterday. Did you like what you heard? They all acknowledged, yes, it was very beautiful. Then he continued. He said, would you like to learn your own songs? That got their attention, and they woke up. Yes, we would love to learn how to sing. So he said, tomorrow, at first light, I want all of you birds to fly straight up into the sky. Now you fly straight up until you can no longer flap your wings. When you're so tired, a song from up above will come to you, and that will be yours for the rest of your life. Now the birds that make it to the highest point in the sky will have the most beautiful songs. The birds that don't make it very high will have just average, simple songs. So that was the challenge. And they had to wait for the sun the next morning, and they could barely sleep that night as they had gathered. They were so excited they were going to finally learn how to sing. And that morning, the light was just starting to peek over the horizon in the east. And they had all gathered, and they were getting ready to fly. They were stretching their wings, checking their feathers, making sure they're ready for this great flight. And there's that powerful eagle. In Mohawk, they call him an augwex. Now, augwex is powerful. He's a big, massive bird. He has powerful wings. Even the way he stands, his chest is always out. He's proud of himself, and he's strong, and he's showing off. He's flapping those giant wings, creating this wind that would knock the little birds over. And there was another bird they called the thrush. He was near the eagle, and he looked at that eagle's wings and his feathers, and he looked at his own, and he says, I'm small and I'm weak. I don't have a chance against this augwex. He's powerful because my wings are small, my feathers are small. He's going to end up with the best song, and my song won't be very nice. He became very jealous of that eagle. Now, meanwhile, that eagle's flapping his wings and fluffing up his feathers. And what that little bird did was something he shouldn't have. Is he jumped up on that eagle's back and he hid underneath his feathers right behind his head. And that eagle, he didn't feel a thing. But meanwhile, that little bird, he fell asleep behind his head. And the sun comes up, and all at once, all the birds fly straight up into the sky. Thousands, if not millions, all flying straight up. They say there were so many birds that it got dark. It blocked out the sun. All flying straight up. Now the first bird to get tired was that little hummingbird. Now the hummingbird, he wasn't paying attention. He was too busy following an ant. He didn't pay attention when all the other birds took off. He didn't notice. He was still there. Then finally he looked around. He said, where'd everybody go? Then he looked up and he could see them flying. He says, wait for me. And so he jumped and he started to fly straight up. He was trying to catch up to them. And he flapped his wings a little faster. And he was not quite there, so he flapped it faster. Till finally he flapped his wings as fast as they could go. And that little hummingbird, his wings, they flapped so fast that they got stuck that way. Even to this very day, you see a hummingbird flying around, you see his wings, it just looks like a blur. And what happened to him is he overexerted himself and he got tired out really quickly. And when that happened, he slowed down. He couldn't flap his wings anymore. He was so tired. The song from above came down and it became his. And today, you hear that hummingbird sing. It's very simple. It's not very beautiful. It's almost just like a little squeak. That's it. But he was happy because now he could fly all around very quickly. The next bird to learn his song was the crow. Now you see that crow all over the place. And the thing with that crow is that every morning he gets up and the first thing he does is he goes to the garden and he eats corn all day long. And that's all he does, is he eats all day. He doesn't fly around enough. So he's a little bit overweight. He's out of shape. And so when he started to fly straight up into the sky, he didn't last very long. When he got tired, he barely flapped his wings and he slowed down and he started to drift back to the earth. That's when the song came to him. And that song isn't complicated and it isn't beautiful. It's a caw, caw. You hear that today all around. One by one, those birds, they learned their songs and they drifted home. The robin, the blue jay, the chickadee, the wren, they started to learn their songs and they drifted home. Right until when the sun was setting in the west. It got dark and the only ones that were still flying were the larger ones. Like that ogwex, the eagle, he was still flying strong. The hawks, the owl, the blue heron, the ducks, the geese, and the loon, still going strong right into the night. Throughout that night, they flew. And that next morning, the sun came out. The eagle, he looked around and he was all alone. Throughout the night, one by one, all those other birds, they got tired. They learned their songs and they went home. And so he was the only one left. And he could still fly. He flew until when the sun is straight up around noon, till finally he got tired. When that happened, he looked around one more time just to make sure he was alone. And that same song came down to him. And that song isn't necessarily that beautiful, but it's powerful. And that eagle, when he's flying high in the sky and he sings, everybody looks to see him. It's powerful. It's very loud. So he started singing that song. And what happened is that little bird that had been hiding there, he'd been sleeping that whole time. And he heard that song and he woke up and he hopped out from behind those feathers, jumped up on top of that eagle's head, and he took off straight into the sky. Now this time that eagle felt it. He felt his feathers moved and he looked up just in time to see that little bird take off. But there was nothing he could do. He was so tired. All he could do was glide back home. And that little brown bird, he continued on into the sky till he reached the edge of the sky dome. And there he found a little crack in that dome, and he was small enough to fit through. And he fit through that crack and he popped out on the other side. And what he saw was the most beautiful land you could ever imagine. The air was sweet. The light, it wasn't too bright and it wasn't too dark. And so he flew around for some time till he landed in a tree in the forest. And he could hear the song. It sounded like a flute deep within the forest. He could sing it. That became his. He was so excited. He had the best one. He flew to the highest point in the sky. It was a beautiful song and he was singing it. It made him feel so good. And he couldn't wait to show off, to sing to all of creation, to the people, and especially to all those other birds. So he found that crack in the dome and he started singing and flying home. He was almost back home when he noticed that eagle was waiting for him. And that eagle's eyes didn't look too friendly. And the other birds were also looking at that little brown bird, and their eyes also were not friendly. That eagle, he told all the other birds what that little brown bird had done. So instead of singing that song for all the birds and all the creation, that little bird, he flew into the deepest part of the forest and he's hiding. He's ashamed for what he had done. He realized he cheated. To this very day, he's hiding deep in the forest. And today, they call him the hermit thrush. You rarely see him. The only time he'll sing is at dusk when the sun is setting and everything gets still and quiet. He can't hold back any longer and he'll sing that beautiful song. So if you're ever walking in these woods at that time of day and you hear that bird, you remember that story, and that's the end.
All right, thanks again to Dave Fadden for joining us for that storytelling session. Again, for more information on the Six Nations Indian Museum, be sure to check them out, sixnationsindianmuseum.com. And for more storytelling sessions like that, check out a special section of our website, wildcenter.org/Haudenosaunee Stories and Culture. Thanks again for tuning in to another edition of Lunchtime Live. Be sure to tune in every single day at 12 o'clock Eastern Time to our Facebook page and our website for more episodes of Lunchtime Live. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.